time. My name is Shannon, and I want to welcome you to one of my PSA reveals that I just got back on some higher dollar cards, or hopefully higher dollar cards. We're going to find out. There's a backstory with each of these, so as we go through, I will tell you the backstory. I did a little bit of research on all of them um, with very recent eBay sales to see literally where we stacked up. So I'm going to see if getting these cards graded was profitable or not profitable. So let's get started. Trying to open the box from the back's sometimes a little difficult. There we go. All right. The first card I'm going to pull out here, and I'm going to move the box over slightly. First card we're going to pull out is a Shohei Ohtani Chrome Rookie Card 2018. It's the number 150, and it is the pitching Prism Refractor, as you can see, and it graded an 8. Now, I will admit I'm a little disappointed with this grade. I scoured this card before I sent it in, and I really thought it was going to grade at least a 9. I was really hopeful for a 10, but it came back with an 8, and I've looked at it many times since. The edges are great. The corners are great. It appears to be centered. I can't find anything wrong with the surface. So I really don't know why it got an 8. I wish PSA would explain why things get an 8. So let's get on to cost. So the backstory with this card, I better do that first. The backstory with this card was I got it out of a blaster box back in 2018. I paid literally for that card, whatever blasters were running, right around $20. So let's just call it $20 for easy math. So paid $20 for it, and I collect autographs. I like to collect them on cards, and I thought this would be a really cool card to have an autograph on. So I put it in my stash of cards that I get autographs on. And it stayed in that stash through 2 moves. I've moved twice since I purchased this card. And it was in a box. It was in a top loader. And on the last move, literally, I was going through the cards and I found that box of cards. And had no idea this was in there. As I'm going through it, I see it and I get really excited because I'm like, wow, that's a heck of a card to just be hanging out. So I pulled it out and I'm like, I'm going to send that in to get it graded. Sent it in about 30 days ago because the value of it ungraded. And here are some values that were raw, ungraded, that have sold within the last 30 days. One for $733, one for $849. That's the raw value of this card. If it would have graded a PSA 9, it sold for 2 times or 3 times. It sold one for $850, one for $530, one for $388. That was a couple months back. So within the last 30 days, one sold for $850, one sold for $530. A PSA 10, it's selling for right around $2,000. So that's what I was hopeful of. But a PSA 8, that tells me it's going to sell less than the raw value. So essentially, losing a little bit of money on this card if you look at it grading versus selling it raw. So I don't know, kind of strange here. So if we're doing some math, we'll set this over here right at the moment. If it'll sit there. Get my trusty calculator out. So let's say I bought it for $20. It cost me $37 to grade it. I'm into this card for $57. Since the raw amount and honestly The PSA 9 amount, the raw amount's higher than the PSA 9. It ran about 388. So if I can sell this card for 200 bucks, let's just say 200 for a PSA 8 minus 57, I come out with a positive 143 on this card. Unfortunately, if I'd have left it raw, I'd be right around 800. So 800 minus 57. Oh, if I could type right, let's try it again. 800 minus 57, $743. So I would have been better off by quite a bit to leave this one raw. So let's, I'm going to write this down. We'll put it on this whiteboard here in front of me so we can keep a running total. So I'm going to write it off to the side. So I'm going to have a column for cost, raw, graded. Okay, my showy cost was 57. The raw amount for this card literally is selling, I'm just going to call it $800. That's a good average. PSA 8, that's looking like about 200. Difference, the raw version would have been 743. The graded version is 143. All right, so we'll put this up here. I don't know, hopefully we could see that. Maybe use it here in a little bit. So we'll make sure we can see it. So cost for Shohei, $57. If I left it raw, I'd be up $743. Graded, because it was a PSA 8, I'm only going to be up, looks like about 143. So in that one, grading was not the best idea. I'll be honest, I may have to take another look at this card and maybe get it regraded, because if I got it regraded for a 9, definitely worth doing, because that's going to be running right around the raw value. Or I could just take it completely out and sell it raw, and there we go. So there's a couple thoughts, but I still think it should have graded better than an 8. So I wish I knew. All right, going on to the next card. We'll set that up here. The next card here is an East-West refractor. Got David Robinson on one side. We got Patrick Ewing on the other side. It is the refractor version. This is a 1998 Topps card. So there it is, 1998 Topps East-West Patrick Ewing, David Robinson refractor. Beautiful card. Once again, hoping for a 10, but I'm not going to complain with coming in with a 9 either. This is truly a beautiful card. 10s, they run about $700-800 on this. But on the raw version, selling it's going to be right around $100 raw. Getting a 9, it runs right around $200. So not too bad on this one. Came in with a 9, the raw version right around 100, the 9 version right around 200. So I'm going to view this one as being better off graded for sure. So beautiful card, that nice refractor. Now I told you I had a story for this, so I will get into that in just a second. But let's do the math on this. So once again, the cost on this card, and this is what you're going to love. It came out of a pack. The pack, when I got it, was 50 cents. Literally 50 cents a pack. And I bought virtually a whole box, not quite a whole box. It was 2 packs shy. So the cost for that box was $17. And I'll explain the story here in a minute. If it was a raw version of this card, it's selling about $100 a piece. So that means it's $83 to the good if I don't get it graded. A PSA 9 is selling about $200. So I'm up about $183 on this one. So, and I did forget to write Ewing, so we know who I'm dealing with. Robinson. Try. There we go. Not the greatest looking of my handwriting, but it will do the trick. So you can see that on the board now. So the Ewing Robinson cost me about $17. The raw version selling right now about $100, so I'm up about $83 if I don't get it graded. But I did get it graded and it got a PSA 9. Forgot to put the 9 there. Not wanting to do very well in my writing. There we go. PSA 9. Selling for about $200, so I'm up about $183. All right, so that's that one. Pretty nice looking card. I love the refractor. And you know, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, incredible players in their own right. All right, so that's the second one. And the third card, which is the Beast. This is the Beast. This is Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, East-West, insert, 1998. I got this out of a 50-cent pack as well. And I told you that there's a story behind these. So there is this card and the Patrick Ewing, David Robinson. These two cards were in the same box. Now, how I came into the luck of having these is back in about 2003, 2004, 2005, somewhere in that range. We had a local baseball card shop in the town that I was living in. And the gentleman that owned it was getting older and he decided to go out of business. So he had a going out of business sale. And everything in the store, he had some clothes, all clothes related to professional sports teams or college teams. He had some clothes. He had all kinds of cards, memorabilia, the whole 9 yards, and everything. It was an everything must go sale. And he had an auction at the Knights of Columbus building. So a ton of people went out there, and literally he didn't sell items one at a time. There would be a table, and he'd say, how much for this table? And you could see some of the things, you couldn't see everything, and people would just bid. Well, about got divorced from my wife that day because I literally bought a truckload of stuff. Literally a truckload. I had to actually come home and get my truck to go back to pick everything up. And with that being said, my truckload cost me literally $500, period. It was $500, and I got this truckload of stuff. Years ago, as I went through things, I sold, because I got some clothes, I sold them on eBay, got some other things, sold them as well, and made my money back really quickly. So that part was great. And then there was quite a few things that I just set away, put back, and honestly forgot about. And as I told you earlier, I've had 2 moves. Well, I didn't even find this box in the first move. It was stored away. But in the second move, I started going through some things, and I found a box of 1998 Topps basketball cards. And it had been opened. There were 2 packs missing. With those 2 packs missing, one pack actually had the cards there. It just was an open pack. The second pack was gone, so I don't know what happened yet. It may have been sold by somebody, but I know I didn't open it. So anyway, 34 of 36 packs were there in the box, and they contained these 2 cards, along with a lot of other pretty cool cards. So I decided, you know what, I need to downsize. So I took the box to my local card shop where I live now and asked if he'd be interested in buying. And he was actually very helpful. He said, it's been opened. He said, I'm not really wanting to buy open boxes. He said, although there are some pretty good cards that could be in there. He said, I might be interested, but I might not. So he thought about it and he got back to me and he said, you know what? Since you don't know who opened those packs, I hate to say it, but some people, some dealers weren't always honest, especially in that era. And he said they might have searched the box and figured out which had some possible good inserts, and they took them out. And I said, well, I understand that. He said, so I'm going to pass. Um, he said, unfortunately, I just don't want to take that chance. I'm like, well, I understand. And he said, what do you have in this box? And I said, well, the max cost that I could have in the box would be $17. And he's like, if I were you, I'd just rip it and see what happens. You might actually hit one of the wonderful cards in there. And I said, well, that's not a bad idea. Let me think about it. So he was having an open house in about a week, and I went back and saw him. I said, you know what? I've decided that I am going to rip it, and I brought it with me, so I'm going to rip it here at your open house. So I sat there and I ripped, and the first really good card that I got was this one right there. So obviously, I'm thinking, hey, I've done well. And then a few packs later, this bad boy shows up. And talk about excitement. That was definitely an incredible pull, so to speak. And as we see it comes back with a mint 9. Obviously, you want to hope for a 10, but I'm not going to complain on a 9. And to give you an idea of cost, the cost for a 9, actually, let's go with the raw cost. The raw cost on this is basically it's $1,200. That is going to be the good comparable, $1,200. So we're wanting to do better than that. Well, PSA 9 does better than $1,200. If I had gotten 8, it'd be virtually breaking even. But a PSA 9, there are plenty of comparable sales. They are literally selling right at anywhere from $1,900 to $2,000, and there's been 4 or 5 sales within our last couple months. So, very strong idea on definitely making my money up there. When we do the math up here, I'm just going to grade everything based off of the $1,900 value, but a lot of the sales were higher than that. So definitely a good idea for me to grade this at that point in time. Now, because it graded so high, PSA charged me an upcharge. They charged me a $37 upcharge, which kills me. But hey, for the extra number, if it was the difference between 8 and a 9, then it's worth it. So there we go. But yeah, definitely excited about that. That's a tremendous card. So let's do the math on it. Actually, let's do it on this first. All right, so my cost into this was let's do the $17 again, even though I could probably share it with the Ewing Robinson. $17 plus 37 for the initial grade plus 37 for the upcharge equals my cost in this card's $91. The raw grade is $1,200. So if I'd have graded it raw, I could have sold it, not graded. If I'd have sold it raw, I could have made about $1,100. But because it got graded, we're going to do the 1,900 minus the 91, and I'm going to be up about $1,800. That is the best card I've ever pulled and kept for myself to date, value-wise. So let's do the math on here. And I just noticed I had a mistake on the Ewing Robinson. I forgot to put in my grading cost. So let me get that corrected. Sorry about that. You guys at home are probably like, man, he's really kind of screwing up. All right, so the cost for the Ewing Robinson 37 and 17 is 54. So actually, I'm up 146 on that one. All right, so now we're on to the Jordan Bryant. It was a PSA 9. Raw version was 1200. The cost on this one was $91. So doing the math on it, positive 1109 versus raw, or the 1900 with a PSA 9. $18.09. So grading versus not grading. And we'll do the math on these as well. All right, so as you see, the cost for the Jordan Bryant card was $91 from purchase through grading, even the upcharge from PSA. The raw version, if I wouldn't have graded it, I would have been ahead $1,109. With the 9 grade, I'm up $18.09. So good trade. Getting it graded made me basically about $700 extra. So if we do all the math, we've got 57 plus 54 plus 91 when it comes to grading cost. So my grading cost is 202. The raw, if I'd have left them raw and just sold them, 743 plus 46 plus 1109, 1898. And then the graded version. So we get 143 plus 146 plus 1809, $2,098. All right, so if you take a look at this, total cost, $202 for grading and the expense of the card. The raw version, if I just sent it in, $1898, and the graded version, $2,098. Where I really got hurt on this one was the PSA 8 Showy Ohtani. You take that away, and if you just look at these two that got graded, a 146 and an 1809, that's 1955. That'd be definitely the difference there. So I may have to bust this one out of its case and regrade it, or sell it raw. Something to think about. But these are my PSA grades and the stories behind them. I do want to thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this PSA reveal, I would hope that you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll see more PSA reveals. I've got about 20 cards I'm going to do here shortly, and just want to go through that with you. But pretty excited about this. This was a lot of fun. I thought they were all going to be monster cards. Ends up this one is, this one disappointing, and this one probably right where it should be. So not too bad overall, but you're always wanting tens. That's what we strive for. So just want to thank each and every one of you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, and hopefully you did enjoy this and maybe learn a little bit. I want to wish all of you a good night, and God bless.